Hello, everybody. Welcome once again to Grandpa's house, where we're offering the finest in classical music and country music, and now we're adding some Broadway tunes. And we've also got a new era on our way, and that is one of dignity and always the most beautiful music without any silliness or comedy. Now, I know we've had a couple of silly shows and comic shows and undignified shows, but that era is all done with now. It's going to be nothing but dignity and propriety. All righty? And to kick off this new era of dignity and propriety, I'm going to start with one of the most beautiful songs ever written in the history of the human race. That is The Sound of Music from The Sound of Music by Oscar Hammerstein 11 and Richard Rogers. All righty? Now, when I was a young boy, I saw this movie when it came out in the theaters back in, I believe, '65. And I just want to mention just a couple things about that before we get on with the music. First is, when I was a little kid and The Sound of Music came out, and I knew that it was from about the World War II era, which was about 20 years prior. And I was very much confused by they had on these swastikas and Nazi symbols on their flags and on their trucks and this and that on the movie. And I was very surprised because I didn't know the politics involved. I didn't know much of anything in them days. But I knew that the Nazi symbols was bad because some of the naughty boys at our school used to draw them in the snow and stuff like that just to irritate the adults and teachers and whatnot. I never did, but I saw them and I was really unhappy because I was a very, very good little boy sometimes. But I asked my brother, who was several years older than me, I said, how do they get permission to use these swastikas in this movie? And the same question had come up a year or two before that in The Incredible Mr. Limpet, if you remember that movie, where Barney Fife turns into a fish and goes past the Nazis in World War II and past the submarines, and they had swastikas. I asked him at that time, too, I said, how do they get permission to use them swastikas? But I think the German government has to give them permission. And I don't think they want to give them permission. My brother told me, he said, they don't need to get permission, they just use them. And I thought my brother, even though I respected him and I thought he knew everything, that was the only thing that he didn't know. Now, the other thing I want to mention about seeing The Sound of Music in the theater in '65 was this girl named Penny Robinson. Now, if you are familiar with Lost in Space, which is a show that was on TV, there was a very cute little girl on that show named Penny Robinson, who was a few years older than me, but that didn't make, no, never mind, because I guess I prefer older women in them days. She was about, I guess she was about 12 or 13, something like that, and I was a few years younger than that, okay, but I sure did like her. Oh, she was such a beautiful specimen of womanhood for me, okay? And I'm sure she still is a lovely lady. I just don't happen to have a crush on her right now, and that's okay, all right? But she was in The Sound of Music. Well, she was on Lost in Space, and then when I saw her in The Sound of Music, I was just blown away. And you know why? I knew that the World War II was about 20 years previously, and here she was in The Sound of Music, and she hadn't aged a day. And I just, every time she came on screen, I just stared and I tried to think, and I just could not figure that out for a long time. It took years, actually. It was a lot of cognitive dissonance. All righty, there's a good college word for you. All righty, now that that's out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and sing this beautiful song from The Sound of Music entitled The Sound of Music. My day in the hills has come to an end, I know. A star has come out to tell me it's time to go. But deep in the dark green shadows are voices that urge me to stay. So I pause and I wait and I listen for one more sound, for one more lovely thing that the hills might say. Thy hills are alive with the sound of music, with songs they have sung for 1,000 years. The hills fill my heart with the sound of music. My heart wants to sing every song it hears. My heart wants to beat like the wings of the bird that rise from the lake to the trees. My heart wants to sigh like a chime that flies from a church on a breeze, to laugh like a brook when it trips and falls over stones on its way, to sing through the night like a lark who is learning to pray. I go to the hills when my heart is lonely. I know I will hear what I've heard before. My heart will be blessed with the sound of music, and I'll sing once more. Isn't that just about the most pretty song you ever heard in your life? And I'll tell you what I really like about that song. I mean, I love the whole song, but one part I really like is the part where it goes, do, 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 da, 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 do, 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 do. And you know, in the movie, they have the girls sing that part. They go, ah. And especially if it was Penny Robinson singing that just warms my heart. It just warmed and still warms. It's so beautiful. So, tomorrow we'll have our little show. We'll have our little dignified gospel hour. And I want you to have a nice time during those times and keep safe and keep sane. And we'll see you next time on Grandpa's Piano Hour.